Greetings, I'm Mikkel Storsley, Superintendent of Grayslake High School District 127. I'd like to update the community on our progress toward bringing in a hybrid model to District 127. What I'd like to cover, I'd like to review the 3 phases of our plan that were articulated in July to the board and the community. Most importantly, I want to talk about our new hybrid model. I also, once we've gone over that, I want to talk about a few cautions and a few considerations that we're still working on as we're planning. And finally, I want to give some additional materials and discuss some next steps with you. Along with this presentation, there will be a survey provided to District 127 families. And in that survey, we're going to ask you to commit to whether or not you would like to send your student to our hybrid model, or if you'd like to keep your student home with full remote learning for the rest of the semester. More details in a moment. So I'd like to quickly review the 3 phases of our plan that were articulated to the board and the community back in July. I don't want to spend too much time on phase 1, that would be remote learning, but just to quickly review, we started the school year on August 20th in a remote learning model, and for that model we've implemented a modified block schedule. At the time we implemented it, students were not allowed in the building for any instruction, but our athletic programs and our extracurriculars continued as they had over the summer under the guidance from the IHSA and the Illinois State Board of Education. During phase 2, which started in full force the month of September, we brought in different groups of students, and that's been a great learning process for our district. I'd like to give you a few details on the status of some of these groups. But I want to remind people, in all, this is not a linear process. We're learning about remote instruction. We're still learning about safety procedures. We're still learning about best practices as guided by our local and state health departments. So I wish I could say that we've been able to plan out exactly how and when it's been feasible to bring in these different groups. It's really not possible. To use that overused metaphor, we're continuing to build the plane while it's in flight. But let me give you a few updates on our phase 2 groups before we move into phase 3, the hybrid model. So we have select groups of students that we have been slowly bringing in as we felt confident that we could do it safely. Our career technology education students in certain hands-on classes like woodworking, metals, small engine repair, and mobile makers, which is a programming class, have been brought in over the last couple of weeks at a safe social distance, of course. Our athletics and activities, as noted, have been in and around our buildings for quite some time. And in addition, we're starting to build student support. So students who may be struggling. There is in-school support for some of our AIM students, and also we're beginning to build after-school support, evening appointment support for certain students who need some additional help. Furthermore, we are bringing in students with disabilities in different ways. Initial evaluations and 3-year re-evaluations are continuing in person. We have in-person occupational therapy services and physical therapy services available on site. At Grayslake North, some students with IEPs will start coming in for in-person support starting next week. Grayslake Central, students in the Educational Life Skills program will be starting on or around October 22nd. And also at Grayslake Central, we're working through providing one-on-one in-person supports during evening hours. Both buildings are working on how to provide services safely. So that's a review on our phase 1 remote learning, our phase 2 to give you an update on some of the select groups we're starting to bring in. Finally, and probably most importantly for this presentation, if health metrics allow, we are planning on implementing a hybrid model during quarter 2. In July, when we presented to the board, our hybrid model at that time would have brought in 1/3 of our students on Tuesdays, another 1/3 of our students on Wednesdays, and another 1/3 of our students on Thursdays. Mondays and Fridays would have been totally remote learning days. However, based on what we've learned from remote learning and what we think our students need, we've significantly adapted that model, and I'm going to discuss that right now. So before I start with the details of the plan, I want to remind people of a few points. Specifically, I just want to remind people of the significant logistical challenges that we are still planning for. Of course, we still have to plan for social distancing in the classroom, in our hallways, for consistent mask usage, and we have a pretty aggressive set of cleaning protocols that we put in place. In addition, guidance still stands that we cannot have any groups larger than 50 in any one space. So it's our responsibility to develop a system with all of these physical limitations that takes into account health protocols, that also accounts for students who want to be in person in a hybrid model and students who want to stay completely remote. That is, of course, a choice we will always give our families. So with all of that being said, And just right now, we're just skimming the surface of all the challenges inherent in building a model that takes all of this into account. There is no one model or no one schedule that's going to please everyone. There is no magic solution that's going to make everybody happy. And I just want to be frank about that. Based on the changes that we've made, though, made to our model, and what we believe to be a safe and reasonable schedule to implement this, we plan to bring students in our hybrid model, if all goes well, the week of November 9th. As I get into the model, though, actually the first day for students would be Tuesday, November 10th. Now, I want to remind people also, we've been taking the input of our Next Steps task force, which met together with representatives from District 46. These included parents and students and support staff from both districts, as well as certified staff, board members, and administrators. Furthermore, we've had numerous meetings with our staff, and we're working collaboratively to ensure that this model is the best it can be in meeting the goals of combining so many needs. We want a program that moves our students forward academically, but also gives them the opportunity to interact with teachers and staff in order to connect them and engage them with the school community, and have a remote option for students who do not feel comfortable coming back into our buildings. So let's cut to the chase and talk about our hybrid model. So our hybrid schedule features the following. On Mondays, it'll be a full remote schedule for students. It's a late start periods 1 through 8, and in fact, it's identical to our current model. For Tuesday through Friday, we will feature an A-B block schedule. And what that means is it'll be a block schedule for in-person attendance from 8 a.m. through around 12:20 p.m. In a moment, I will show you a bell schedule, and hopefully that'll be a little easier to understand, but I just want to give you a few broad details first. Now, Group A, which will be roughly 50% of our student population, will attend Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The other half of our student population, our B group, they'll attend Thursdays and Fridays. This will be a maximum of 50% in-person attendance at any one time. Remember, our previous model, articulated in July, featured a 33% model where a third of our students would attend on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. In this new model, our students are going to leave after the last in-person class, and in the afternoon, we feature live synchronous support for remote students from 1:30 p.m. to 2:55 p.m. And again, students have the option to attend fully remotely. So let's take a look at the schedule and see how it plays out during the week. So first of all, as I mentioned, Mondays look identical in our schedule as how they do right now. It's a late start day. It'll be full remote for all of our students, full periods 1 through 8. Tuesdays and Wednesdays features our A group of students. On Tuesdays, they attend periods 1 through 4 in person. And once again, this features at most 50% of our students at any one time. At that time, when period 4 is over, students will be allowed to leave. There will be a break in the school day, and then our teachers will be available periods 1 through 4 in the afternoon to support any students that need assistance remotely. You'll see their live synchronous support. That is for any remote students that want to ask questions or interact with their teachers. Now, similar to our model now, we have a period in which students can sign up for individual student meetings during office hours at the end of the day on Tuesdays. Now, Wednesdays, that same group of students would return for periods 5 through 8, and then it would be the same schedule in the afternoon. On Thursdays and Fridays, we repeat that process with the other 50% of our students. Period 1 through 4 on Thursdays, 5 through 8 on Fridays, and once again, live synchronous support available in the afternoon for any students who need assistance remotely. Thursdays feature individual student meetings and office hours from 2:55 to 3:15, again, similar to Tuesday and Wednesday. And on Fridays, the end of the day is reserved for staff meeting and planning time. So obviously, I cannot go into the many, many details that are involved in this plan. Along with this presentation, we'll be sending out our hybrid return to learn community information. This document is going to have far more details about very specific subjects such as face coverings and hygiene and sanitation and lots of other details. But I want to spend a little bit of time discussing some of these details. So all students must be in class, whether in person or remote, for attendance purposes. Okay? The first 5 minutes of class will be used for attendance taking. After attendance, remote students will either be asked to remain on the Zoom for a lesson or be told that they can exit the Zoom session to work on their assignments or lessons virtually as posted in Schoology. In-person instruction ends at 12:21 each day. Students and staff have a break again until 1:30, at which time remote support sessions begin for each of the morning periods. Students with a less than a 73%, that's less than a C average, will be expected to attend those remote support sessions, and any student can also join for reteaching or get help and clarification on any of that morning work. Lunch is not being served on campus. However, the district will continue its community food distribution from the North Cafeteria. Students will receive their assigned days, whether they're an A student or a B student, or A group of students or B group of students. Whether you're coming Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. We will assign that'll be sent from the school, okay? And that'll be in the days prior to the start of the hybrid model. We're not ready for that just yet. But you should know, students at the same address will automatically be placed in the same in-person days. So anybody in the same household will be assigned to the same group. Any family who commits to remaining fully remote at the time of moving to hybrid must remain fully remote until the end of the first semester. That's the survey that we're going to ask you to commit. All right, but it'll be from now until the end of our hybrid model until the end of the semester, and then we'll offer another opportunity if you'd like to change your mind. So, a lot of details. I can't go into them all, but I want to touch on a few, particularly with some of the health guidance, some of the health requirements. Per state guidance, all students and staff must wear face coverings at all times while in the school, fully covering their nose and mouth, even if social distancing is possible. By the way, this includes at the bus stop and while riding on the bus. We've also included guidance on the types of allowable face coverings for students and staff. Any students who cannot abide by this mask requirement need to opt for the remote learning option. Schools will be cleaned and sanitized every day, including with the use of our Clorox 360 electrostatic sprayer in learning spaces. Frequently touched surfaces like door handles and bathroom doors and things like that will be cleaned by our maintenance staff throughout the day. Each classroom has a caddy containing ample disinfecting spray, paper towels, hand sanitizer, and gloves for use throughout the day. Desks and other frequently touched classroom equipment will be wiped between classes using a spray located in each classroom. This spray has a 1-minute kill time for viruses. While cleaning will be happening throughout the day, the buildings will be mostly empty of students by 12:30, at which time additional deep cleaning will occur during the afternoon and evening hours. Furthermore, buses will be wiped down between every bus run. Plexiglass has been installed in every classroom, in offices, and at main entrances as appropriate. And restrooms will be sanitized every hour. We've taken several steps to review air exchange and filtration levels consistent with the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. Both schools ensure that their HVAC systems are continuously running to allow for increased outdoor intake, airflow, and filtration. District 127 facilities maintain a minimum of 30% outdoor air, which is on the high end of the amount recommended by that organization. Preventative maintenance has been performed on all the HVAC systems and exhaust fans to ensure they are running properly while the buildings are occupied. Furthermore, new air filters have been procured at the highest MERV rating for which the systems can accommodate. These filters are being changed at intervals of 3 months. So, persons may not enter the building if they have a new onset of currently known symptoms of COVID-19. Persons may not enter if caring for someone who is ill with COVID-19, has COVID-19 symptoms, or are awaiting a COVID-19 test result for someone in the home. Upon entry into our building, staff will have their temperature taken and self-certify they are free of symptoms before proceeding. Parents must conduct symptom checks of their students every morning before they'll be allowed in our buildings. By sending your student to school, parents are certifying that the student was fever-free, did not have any other COVID symptoms, has not been exposed to or are caring for somebody with COVID-19, or are awaiting test results for a potential COVID-19 diagnosis in their home. Students will also be asked to attest to the fact that they have none of these symptoms prior to entering the building. And we will be conducting temperature screenings upon students' arrival to school. So any student presenting with symptoms will be moved to a space in the building for quarantine until a parent or guardian can come pick up that student. Any staff member presenting with symptoms while in the school building will leave and follow CDC IDPH protocols before returning. Students or staff members who test positive will not be allowed to return to the school until a doctor's note or clearance from the Lake County Health Department is received. Students or staff experiencing symptoms that could be perceived to be COVID-19 must have a doctor's note explaining the reason for the symptoms, if there is one, aside from COVID-19, but they must have that note prior to returning to the building. If a student or staff member has tested positive to COVID-19 or has been exposed to somebody with COVID-19, a note from the doctor or Lake County Health Department must be sent to the school or the HR office prior to returning to the building. Students or staff members who have been in close contact, meaning within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes with someone who tests positive, will be required to participate in remote learning for at least 14 calendar days, even with a negative COVID-19 test. And the school or the Lake County Health Department will notify families if a student was possibly exposed to COVID in the school setting in the same manner as when there's pertussis or lice or other contagions. So, in addition to this presentation, we're sending the hybrid return to learn document, the document with acceptable mask products, and a survey in which we will ask you to commit to a remote or hybrid model for the rest of the semester. We request that you respond by Wednesday, October 14th. I sent out a survey a couple of weeks ago that was just to give us a sense of the proportion of families who would be interested in a hybrid without any details, or if they anticipated keeping their students home with remote learning regardless. That survey did not commit anyone to a particular model. This survey that's being sent out with this presentation does ask for this commitment. We realize this is a lot of information. This is a tight turnaround time. But the significant challenges inherent in this model require a lot of planning. And specifically, we're going to be going through each classroom, each section, based on the students that are actually assigned to that room in that period to ensure that that room has a capacity for 50%, a maximum of 50% of our students at a safe social distance. In addition, we'll be asking whether you intend to use the bus transportation for your student. We need to know who's going to be attending, who intends to use the bus, so we can begin to build bus routes. Once again, students will attend in the morning and will leave by 12:30, and we'll be offering additional transportation for those students who want to come back for athletics or activities at the end of the day. So, as I've noted, our first day of student attendance would be the week of November 9th. But if you look at our model, Monday the 9th is a remote learning day, just like it is now. The first day of student attendance would be November 10th. So I want to talk a little bit about cautions and considerations, specifically with our health metric data. Everything that I've described in this presentation is based on the assumption that our health metrics stay stable. For example, the two main numbers that we're going to be looking at are the incidence rate and the positivity rate. All right? The band at which the positivity rate, according to our health department, is safe for hybrid learning is really under 8%, between 5 and 8%, but under 8% to stay in a hybrid model. So if we start to see a consistent trend upward in the positivity rate, I'm going to be on the phone with the Lake County Department of Health. If we see that positivity rate go above 8% for a day, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to pull back to full remote. That could be a one-day data anomaly, as sometimes a state, they'll dump a bunch of data on our health departments, and that can skew the results for a very short amount of time. But if we see that positivity rate consistently in over a period of days hanging above 8%, again, I'm going to be on the phone with the Lake County Department of Health. They know the conditions on the ground. They know whether they're going to be able to guide us as to whether we should consider staying in the hybrid model or pull back to full remote. That's one of the reasons we've designed this model as we have. We can move back and forth between remote and hybrid. We don't want to do that if at all humanly possible, because that's a significant disruption, but we can do it. Now, in addition, if we look at the incidence rate, and remember that incidence rate is the number of positive tests or number of positive cases per 100,000 residents in the county. If that starts to rise significantly, and if that stays above 14 new cases per 100,000 for a sustained amount of time, it'll be the same discussion. I'll be on the phone with the Lake County Department of Health, and I'll be discussing the health situation in the area and whether it's safe to continue remotely. So, as I've noted, I'll be looking at these health metrics daily, as I have for several months now, but I'll be particularly focused on those two numbers starting November 1st. According to the guidance from the Lake County Department of Health, we should have 10 days of sustained favorable health metrics before we move into a new phase of learning. So on November 1st through the 10th, we're going to be looking to make sure our health metrics are not indicating they're rising upward or have a sustained trend of high positivity or high incidence rate above those marks. Again, above 8% for positivity, above 14 new cases per 100,000 on a 7-day rolling average. I'll be providing updates to the community about our health metrics, and if there are any significant changes one way or the other, I want to make sure people know about that well ahead of time. Or if they're holding steady, people need to know that too. So here's where I need to make a plea to our community. If we are going to make this model or any other model of in-person learning work, we have got to make sure our families know how important it is to maintain social distance and maintain proper mask usage and avoid crowded areas and good hygiene. This is nothing you don't know, but it is extraordinarily important. In our conversations with the Lake County Department of Health, they have noticed in recent days that people are simply getting fatigued with these restrictions. Totally understandable. I'm tired of them as well. But if we let our guard down, those numbers are gonna rise up. They are seeing it already in different pockets throughout our county and certain zip codes in our area. Not ours yet, thankfully. But if you look at the situation in Wisconsin, that's taking a turn for the worse right now as well. So we need to keep an eye on it. The health department, again, specifically said that the public is tiring of this and they're starting to throw caution to the wind. And with the cold weather starting to come on, more and more people are going to be gathering inside, and we know that's not good for the spread of COVID. They anticipate more increases in our health metrics as we see more and more people gathering together. So I'm pleading with our community as well as our staff not to let our guard down. We know this is tiring. We know this is not ideal. But if we're going to be able to do this and gradually bring students back into our buildings, and that's the goal, we've got to stay vigilant. I also want to know one of the factors that could impact our ability to stay with a hybrid model or any in-person model is our staff capacity. As I've noted, there are significant protocols put in place if people have tested positive for COVID-19 or are symptomatic or have reason to believe they've been exposed to COVID. All of those requirements, all of those situations require some form of isolation, right? So there may be a situation where we are isolating numbers of our staff, whether they've tested positive or not, just if they've come in close contact, they need to self-isolate, right? So we're monitoring that situation. If we have a large enough proportion of our staff who are not able to attend, we may have to reevaluate our ability to implement a hybrid model or any other in-person model. Of course, during this normal school year, we have teachers that are out all the time and we cover their classrooms as substitute teachers, of course. However, we anticipate that to be the same this year, whether it's COVID related or not. But this is an extremely unique situation. And although we've got substitute procedures put in place and we have substitutes in our classrooms already this year during remote learning, this is not a situation where we have an unlimited supply of substitute teachers. We don't have an unlimited supply of teachers that can cover each other's classes, right? This is a really extraordinarily complicated model. And we're building our capacity as much as we can, but it's something I just want to let people know we're going to keep our eye on. So hopefully you've been able to make it through all of that. I just want to give you an idea of the resources that you should have been sent. For example, this presentation, the recording of this presentation, of course, as well as the slides used in the presentation. You should have been sent the hybrid return to learn community information document. Again, that's the document that has all of the details and more that were in this presentation. You'll also have been sent a document that lays out mask information about the types of masks, which are better, which are best, which are not allowed. And finally, a family survey. Again, that is the survey. We like to give you a few days to think about this, but we ask that you return that by Wednesday, October 14th, with a commitment of you want to try hybrid or you want to stay remote. And that will be for this semester only. We'll have another survey coming out for semester 2. Furthermore, in the near future, you're going to receive some communication about updates to our school calendar for the first week of November and the week of Thanksgiving. We're going to be inserting a couple of state-approved professional development days to help our staff with the transition to hybrid. Remember, we had remote, completely changed the educational model for remote, and now we're completely changing it again for hybrid, so our staff needs some time to implement that. So stay tuned. That information will be sent via email in the coming weeks. That's a lot. Appreciate your listening. Thank you very much. And we will be in touch. Please fill out your survey by October 14th. Thank you.